Hey guys, I'm Catherine Catalia, Senior Lifestyle Editor here at Bustle, and today I am hanging out with Alison Taffel Rabinowitz.
Hello.
Allison is a writer, she's a consultant, she's a career coach, and today we're going to talk about how to be the Beyoncé of your career. I don't know if you could tell, we've got this Beyoncé wall behind us right now for inspiration. But hi, Allison.
Hello. I'm happy to be in the presence of you and many images of Beyoncé.
So many different Beyoncés. Okay, so you actually teach a class called Be the Beyoncé of Your Career.
Yes.
What's that all about?
So it started about 4 years ago. I started reading books written by men, of course, all about negotiation and business. And I realized that some of these scripts they were giving us, the advice they were giving us, weren't things that were easy for us as women to say. We were scared we'd come off bossy or bitchy or asking for something we don't deserve. So I looked at everything and I said, how can I say this in a way that women will feel more empowered talking about? And who empowers women more than Beyoncé?
Literally nobody.
Yes. And one of the reasons, and this is pre-Lemonade when this all started actually, I just looked at her as she's a perfect example of someone who worked hard for something and she achieved greatness. We don't love her because of her amazing ass. Well, we might, but we don't love her necessarily for being in a crazy power couple.
Right.
We love her because she's an advocate for women and for issues, and she does it through her business and through her art. And I can't think of anyone that is more inspirational to so many different kinds of women.
All right, so when people sign up for this class, what kind of stuff can they expect? Like, what's the focus going into it?
Yes, so I really feel like you can't go into negotiation unless you've done the homework beforehand. So I don't just start with, okay, you want to make $10,000 more. I make them build up the story. But first we talk about the confidence gap, which a lot of women have trouble asking for a raise or trying to find another job and being able to ask for more money. And you have to go through some steps before you can even do that. And the first thing is to jump over the hurdle of the confidence gap.
Oh, the confidence gap. Well, we are going to get into all of this. Allison is going to show us how to be the Beyoncé of our careers. If you have any questions, you can leave those in the comments. We're going to yell those out. Allison's going to answer them. But as we're doing that, I have a list of some sort of hypothetical workplace scenarios that I think often come up when women are either trying to negotiate more money, whether that's at a new job or the job that they already have. And I kind of want you to just give your insight, tell me, what's wrong about this, what's right about this, and what women can really do to make sure that they're getting the money that they deserve. Sound good?
Sound good?
All right, let's see what I have here first. All right, scenario number 1, negotiating salary. So I've been offered a really great position that I want very, very badly. The problem and the catch is that the offer is a full $10,000 less than what I was expecting. How on earth can I have this sensitive conversation with my employer and get what I want without hurting my chances of getting this position?
So this is a very popular question. And again, something that goes into a lot of homework. So I would ask when she says, I got $10,000 less than I expected, where does that expectation come from? Because if you're pivoting into a new career, maybe sometimes you do take a pay cut because you just didn't want to do what you were doing before. Sometimes you just told them what you were making in your last job, which is a huge mistake.
Is that a mistake?
It is. You should not tell them what you're making. It's actually on the top of the cliff notes I give everyone. I'm like, never tell them what you're making because there's a ton of ways to get around it. So when she says, I got $10,000 less, that does first start out with how did she handle it in the beginning? Mm-hmm. Because what she should have said was, what are you, when they asked her, what is your current salary? She should have said, well, according to my research, and which you can use Glassdoor for this, a person in this position makes between X and X. And I think I should be paid on the higher end of the range because of my experience, and then that's when you list your wins and everything. But if you're just expecting $10,000 more and you gave them a range and they went underneath it, I would start it off by saying, this is a great place to start. And that's the way. Do not say thank you. Like they called, they gave you the offer, ring, ring, ring. Do not say thank you is the first thing that you do when you pick up the phone. The biggest thing I tell people is to say when they call you up, ring, 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 I'm going to offer you your dream job, we're going to offer you X amount of dollars. You say, can you give me a second to take out my notes?
Your notes, okay. And then what happens?
So I walk away and I haven't said thank you. I haven't just accepted the job, right? It's like a little trick. It kind of gets the HR, the hiring manager off for a second because they're like, oh, she might negotiate here. So you say, you come back with your notes, which you should have anyway, and you come back and you say, okay, I'm back. And then she has to start the conversation again, where she originally probably thought she got you right there. Because most women, you got offered the job and you say, hey, what? Thank you. I'm so excited to begin. They already want you. They already spent the time to interview you. They already spent the time to, you know how much money is time in a business. So if everyone's met you, they've invested in you already. So they offered you it. Now it's your turn.
Why do you think that negotiating salary is such an awkward topic for women? I know in like the first couple of jobs that I have, I just like straight up was the girl who was like, okay, great, thank you. And I didn't even know how to take the next step to have that conversation.
And a lot of the times in our first jobs, we are scared to say that. But I gotta tell you, most men negotiate. Most men will ask for more. And it has to do with courage and it has to do with confidence. When it comes down to it, asking for $5,000 in your first job, asking $5,000 more could mean tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. It's cumulative. So every time you don't ask for more, you're getting less. So if you never negotiate, you lose $500,000 by the time you're 60. So there's huge stake here, and I think that people have trouble because they worry that they're gonna come off as bossy or bitchy, or they have the idea in their head, that they don't deserve a promotion. But in order to deserve a promotion, you should be putting together what your story is. So I tell a lot of people, as soon as you get there, and I'm still a paper person, I worked in magazines for 10 years, sorry. I tell everyone to have like a job diary. And they put all the advice, all the scripts and things that I teach in there. But one of the things is that I tell them to make sure that they have their whole story, their wins, and they start that at the day one of their job. So you're going to forget. You're going to forget everything you accomplished if you don't write it down as you're doing. And those things are going to be the points you use to get a raise or to get a new salary. So you have to keep track of your wins.
And I imagine that negotiating your salary early on as you're getting the job probably helps you out down the road when you're thinking about asking for a raise.
It's much, much easier to start off with a bigger salary. And I'm just going to throw this out there because I also work in the startup world. Equity is a beautiful thing that people like to talk about. And I love startups. Making something from nothing is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But a lot of times, a CEO, a lot of times male, I'm just going to say it again, I'm not man-hating, I'm just explaining the situation. But they'll say, oh, we'll sell this whole story, you're gonna get to do this and this, we'll give you this much equity. And girls, take the cash. Take the cash. Most startups fail, it's just the truth. Sometimes we have amazing opportunities, and if you just got a job at like Casper, I say go for it, take your equity, but make cash up front. Ask for as much money, doesn't matter what kind of job, whether it's startup, ask for as much money that's reasonable within your range. It's actually funny, I was watching as Equal Pay Day yesterday and all the different efforts that were happening. And one of my heroes, Cindy Gallup, she did a chatbot. I don't know if you guys saw this, and it was a negotiation thing. And I absolutely loved it because it prompted you to tell you those reasons that you can tell someone why you need a raise. But one of the things she said, and Cindy, I love you, but I'm just going to tell you my opinion, was say the biggest number you can say without laughing out loud. Now, I've had great wins with my students. I had a student just recently make $100,000 more who was totally undervalued, paid way less than her male employees, and we worked hard to build her story to get her literally in her next job $100,000. Then I had another girl who negotiated, and I don't really know her first upfront story because she came to me later in the game, but they rescinded the offer when she asked for $5,000 more.
For just $5,000 more?
Which is insane, and I know what the company is, and I was like, just not the place for you to be. Take it as a sign. This is not you. Would have given you the same advice that I would have given anybody, and you did it, and this is the risk. Negotiation, they always say you both walk away unhappy. You don't have to walk away unhappy. You can get things like more vacation time, working from home, the chance to go to all the conferences you want to. But the thing is that it is a risk. But I've only had one time where that person had gotten their offer rescinded, and it was the exact same week that the other girl had gotten a $100,000 raise. So,
all right. So that was the universe just trying to sort
Yes.
of balance everything out.
Yes.
All right. We actually have a fan question.
So Allison wants to know, at what point in an interview process can I negotiate a maternity leave policy?
oh, so, well, I'm wearing my wedding ring today, so, but usually I don't wear my ring to interviews, to be honest with you guys.
Really?
There's a website called Fairy God Boss. I think that's what it's called. And they give you a lot of information about the maternity leave policies of different places. I would never talk about it during an interview. That's my personal opinion. You want them to love you first. I say that with any other thing that you're wanting to negotiate later. Make them love you first. Make them spend all that time introducing you to all the people, like seeing how great your ideas are, because if you're a great candidate, you're a great candidate, and they're gonna want you on the team, and that's you. That's you and your life and your baby, you know, and some companies are better with this than others. I'm shocked and surprised by some companies that are full of more women working there than anything else. Like, not gonna name the industries, but I'll just put it there. And I'm just shocked that there's, you know, I hear these stories of women literally have to work there a year before you get maternity leave. So say you get put on like bed rest or something like that, and you're like literally, you just took away all your vacation days and you don't get to start your maternity leave because you couldn't keep your legs held together long enough to be there a year. Scary. So in terms of negotiating that, it's something that I would bring up after I got the offer to where I wanted it. So everything from, you know, the money, the total compensation package, and I've signed everything dot on the T. And then it's like, and by the way, I'm just curious, you know, about a little more about your benefits. You know, with your maternity, like ask multiple questions. Don't just say, hey, I'm thinking about getting pregnant. Is this the right place to be? You know, just ask about benefits in general. What's your policy on this, this, this? Because if you throw it in there with like life insurance and stock options, it's just asking about the company in general. So, but I would not ask that in the beginning of negotiating or the beginning of interviewing.
All right. Well, for those of you who are just tuning in, we have Alison Taffel. She is talking about how to be the Beyoncé of your career. We just talked about all the different ways that you can negotiate when you first get the job. But now we have another hypothetical situation that's coming up. You've negotiated, you've gotten the job, you've been there for a while. Now you're looking for a promotion. So the situation we have here is, I want and feel I deserve a promotion, but I'm so terribly uncomfortable asking my boss about it. What's my best approach to opening up this awkward discussion? Is a promotion something I should be given, or is it something I need to ask for? I feel corny asking for it. Am I being ridiculous?
Okay, so there's a lot of answers here. This is a loaded question. I might
We'll
ask you to break this down.
Okay.
First of all, do not be scared. No one's going to just give you a promotion. It just doesn't happen like that. You get in life what you have the courage to ask for. So don't feel ridiculous, but you have to have the stuff to back it up. So you said, sorry, I'm going back to your question. She said, why don't you read it again? That'll give me.
We're gonna go over this again. There's a lot here. All right. I want and feel that I deserve a promotion, but I'm so terribly uncomfortable asking my boss about it. What's my best approach to opening up this discussion? Is a promotion something I should be given, or is it something I need to ask for? I feel corny asking for it. Am I being ridiculous?
Okay, so we covered the, are you being ridiculous? Yes.
No.
Are you being corny? Take that word out of negotiation. Yeah. It's, if anything, it's a business conversation. Like, put your, business hat on, and because this is not necessarily about that. So, but going back, what I usually would do is when I start a job, I would go in, make a meeting with my boss and say, I want to make a great difference here. Can you tell me about some of the goals or challenges that the company is going to have? So then in 6 months, I can come back to you and tell you how I've gotten us to that goal. And then if that's, say, an executive, your boss is a VP or something, they have an assistant. I usually walk over to the assistant. I'm like, $5 gift card to, Starbucks. I'm like, make sure my date on the calendar with her in 6 months does not move. Because that's your job. They're not going to just come up to you and be like, you get a promotion. You have to proactively tell them why. And there is sort of a season for that. I tell people, usually I tell people to start working on getting that conversation to happen September, like early October.
Interesting.
And that seems to be, and it's not always the case, but they're starting to make their budget for the next year. So get in there. Don't get in there in November or December. That's when everything starts going crazy with holidays and stuff like that. But like, start making your case during the summer for yourself. Put something documented together, whether it's Word document, a PowerPoint, whatever it might be, that you can physically hand to them and say, I've done all these things. So I would say have that prepared. And one other thing she asked, am I ridiculous asking for a raise? What should I have? And what one thing that I didn't cover in that unloaded question?
So what's the best way to bring up this conversation if you've been there for a while?
Okay, so I have an interesting story behind this one from a student. So I had a student, she came to one of my classes, and I noticed during class she was like furiously writing every single thing down, even though I said I'd send them Cliff Notes afterwards. But she had a meeting the next day, and she knew that she was significantly paid less than a guy who was in the same company as her, doing the same kind of thing, but she had been there for years. And she held the biggest client, it was a PR agency, and they really depended on her, and she wanted to stay. So she wanted a raise. So she said, what am I gonna do? They're gonna come to me with a number, and I have to sit with them in person. Now that's scary. In person with your boss, they're saying, I'm gonna take you out to lunch and we're gonna celebrate. And you're like, okay, they're gonna give me a raise, but I have a feeling it's probably not where I need it. So at the table, I'm so still proud of this woman. They said, we're excited with the work you're doing. We want to give you X amount of raise, which was not where she wanted to be. So she said, I think that's a great place to start.
Your go-to phrase.
And then she ended up having a conversation with them about her wins, what she had done. They go back to the office. Yes, she had the nerves in her belly of what she had just asked for, but also she'd just gotten offered something. She knew good things were happening. Boss comes over to her, male boss, and said, I just want you to know I ran over. I got you X amount of money, which was more. And it's not just because I want to keep you here, but it's because of the way you asked. You didn't come into my office and say, I'm not paid enough. You didn't come into my office and I'm sick of this, I want a raise. Or you didn't come into the office, I need a raise because my rent went up. Like, people want to know that if you're gonna give them a raise, that you're making more money or more value for the company. So this girl handled it perfectly. And she has more money. She got to stay at the company that she liked, that had a good work-life balance, and stay with clients she loved.
All right, so all things that we like, all things that Beyoncé would like. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's helpful, I'm assuming, you can tell me if I'm wrong here because I honestly know nothing. I'm assuming that it's helpful to go through and sort of have like an itemized list almost of like all of the things that you've brought to the table in the past like X amount of months.
Yes, that's the legal pad that I call or whatever.
Excellent. Okay, and so I know also a thing that occasionally comes up, a lot of companies will have like review periods for promotions and that kind of thing, and a lot of people will wait until that period happens. Is that a good move, or I mean, should you
I have
kind
to
of
tell
go when
you,
you want it?
and this is something that not just women struggle with. We wait to be reviewed, and reviews get pushed off. We all know this, they get pushed off. And all that time that you're not getting the review and you're not getting the raise is just passing by, and you're not making more money. So women, we don't consider ourselves ready for promotions or raises. We don't raise our hand, and we should. So I think that the best way to go about it is have your wins, be able to talk about them, and just be able to, advocate for yourself to be able to get what you want by being able to have the right story.
All right. All helpful advice. We're talking to Alison Taffel Rabinowitz. She teaches a class, Be the Beyoncé of Your Career, and so we're going over some of her tips for negotiating right now. I have another scenario that I'm going to read to you. Tell me the best way to walk through this. All right, so this is about asking for a raise. We just talked about promotions. I've been at my company for almost a year, and so far there's been no discussion of a raise, like not a peep. I haven't gotten any bad reviews. Should I just keep waiting for something to happen? Is there a such thing as raise season within companies? Not sure how long I should wait before I say anything, but I'm starting to get antsy. Okay, so this kind of talks to what
we're going to break this down a little bit. You've been there almost a year and you haven't gotten a raise. Let's just talk about that first. I haven't gotten any bad reviews. All right, but have you gotten any good reviews? Have you been doing amazing things that necessitate getting a raise in your boss's, view? And you can't just expect it because you've been there. Raises happen within a couple of months of being there if you did something to add value to the company. So someone I know specifically like made a luncheon leave, which was really funny, where instead of leaving early for a summer Friday, they'd all stay for an hour and kind of do their own like TED Talk type thing and teach about different things that might not just strategically be what the company was, but everybody had something cool to share, and they all stayed, they provided lunch, and then they went on their way on a Friday. They added so much value because knowledge sharing is such a big deal, and we spend so much time with people we work with to keep them engaged, to keep them understanding cross-functionally how other people think. That's the best way, is to think of things like that that will take the company to the next level. Go start writing on behalf of the company and their efforts on Medium. It goes viral, it's fun. Ask your PR person first, though. Start doing speaking engagements again. Ask your PR person first. But those are the kind of things that lift the level of the company through you, and you're a vessel for that. They see that, and so you're kicking ass at work, but you're also a face for the company and adding value to things that they might not have had time to do, but really make the company better.
If you do ask for a raise and they come back to you and say that that's not feasible, are there other ways that you can kind of negotiate to keep that conversation going?
So that's one of the things that I say, schedule that meeting, because if you aren't able to see what they want you to do, you're not able to do those things to ask for the raise. So it all kind of goes like that. So if they say, I'm sorry, a raise is not, we're not able to do that at this time, and say, what do you think I need to accomplish to get there? Because I'd love to put together an action plan and put it in front of you. That's a good way to do it. But sometimes if it can't move, like I'll say as much as I can. I understand times are tough. What do you feel like needs to happen? Is it the increase in revenue? Like how can I help? Sometimes they're just not a company that's going to give a raise, because if you're in that position, that level, that's what they can afford. That's happened to me before, and I really wanted to keep it, but I knew I was being severely undervalued. So I had to leave. I had to find something else, and that happens. The best thing to do is to stay in your job and find another job. I usually tell people it's like the Google 80-20 rule, like, except for the fact that we as women usually put at least 110% into the work we do. If you change it back and you did 80%, your job, that's probably good enough. 20% working on yourself, what you want next, because you should always be thinking about what your next move is. I'm not saying like have a foot out the door within being there for 3 months, but you should look at your growth trajectory, because there's no reason to stay at a company if there's no growth trajectory, you're not learning more skills, you're not able to make more money eventually. Like, I'm not saying just leave your jobs all today, but realize and use that job that you're at to accomplish things that you can use to sell yourself or something else, because sometimes they won't give a raise, and that means it's time to go.
All right. Well, Alison, thank you so much for sitting down to talk about this with us. Where can people find out more information about you, more information about being the Beyoncé of their career, all of this good stuff?
Yes. Well, so I teach this class. I teach it all over the city. So if you want to find out about the next class, you go to thefinishingschool.co. If you go to thefinishingschool.com, you might find porn. Oh, no. So .co, thefinishingschool.co.
Details are important.
Very important, very important. So I announce classes. I do classes with lots of organizations. So if you're in an organization that you think would benefit from having me come speak, I speak about the power of networking a lot of the time too. 80% of jobs are gotten through networking, so it's really important to do those things. And so you can even tweet at me at Taffel, write me taffel@gmail.com. And or write me on Facebook, make friends with me on Facebook, and or find me in the Slack for Ladies Get Paid. Shout out to Claire Wasserman, who has made an incredible network of women to ask those questions. And because community and talking about it is the first big step.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I feel more like Beyoncé already.